Hi, and welcome back to Normski TV, doing a What's Going On podcast. And just going to be talking about all things football the weekend that's just gone. Some interesting topics to talk about. We're going to be covering the four English teams in Europe, and I've got a couple of guys that are going to come on, my trusted compadres, Kofi and Dave, Chelsea, Liverpool supporters. I'm hoping that some other people may join us tonight. If not, it doesn't matter. We're going to have a great time just talking all things football, the Man United protests, social media blackout. There's a lot of things that we can talk about. Top four, who's going to finally get that fourth place. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my main man. Guys, welcome Kofi. Welcome Dave. To the What's Going On podcast. It's been a long time since the magnificent, if I can say the word, the three has come together. What's that film with the Three Musketeers? That's it. Yeah. The Three Musketeers, and we're back discussing all things football: Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United. What's going on, lads? What's going on? So where do we start? Where do we start? What do you want to start with? I'll tell you what. Let's just first of all look at the weekend fixtures. Obviously, one team didn't play, and so they didn't fulfill their fixtures.
I think we would have lost the game anyway, to be honest.
Let me just stop you there, bro. let me just stop you there. Let me just check out the standings. So here we go. Here we have it. Yeah. Currently, as we stand, obviously we know Man City. They're gonna win the league. It was gonna be dependent this weekend. If Man United didn't win, got a draw, loss, then Man City would have been crowned champions this weekend. But somehow the football gods has allowed them another reprieve for the rest of the club, or for Man United especially. So Man City have been really going well. They beat Crystal Palace last week 2-0. They're doing quite well in Europe. So they've got one foot in the finals, and they could be playing another team in a certain blue. And we'll come to that as well. They're currently lying first, as I said. And then Chelsea, Man U obviously in second place. Their game was postponed against Liverpool. They're on 67 points. Man City are on 80 points. Wow, massive. Leicester on 63 points. They ended up. Did Leicester? They drew, didn't they?
Yeah.
The last game they drew against Southampton, and Southampton had a man sent off, and they still ended up drawing. So Leicester, I'm not saying that they're bottoming, but I think they pretty much are safe. I can't really see them losing that top four. They're on 63 points, where there's Chelsea on 61 points. They've only lost one game since Thomas Tuchel has taken over. This is absolutely amazing, Dave. They've only lost one game, and that was against West Brom, who were playing tonight. Wow, that was a mad game. That was a mad game, but it is what it is, man. You're on 61 points. Again, you got kind of one foot in the finals, possibly going to play Man City. Tottenham, Gareth Bale gets his hat-trick against the basement team. Come on, do you know what I mean? And is he going to stay out? Tottenham? They've got a rookie manager, temporary manager. Obviously, Josie's gone. So much things has happened since we've had us three on this conversation. And then we moved to Liverpool, we're lying currently in 7th place. They decided that the Man United fans decided that you ain't playing this weekend. You're currently on 54 points. West Ham above you. I think West Ham play later on today, don't they?
They do.
If they win their game, I think they're away to who are they away to? Burnley. And Burnley just had a great result against Wolves, 4-0. Wood scoring a hat-trick. Absolutely amazing. So this top four, it's going to be interesting. I want to know your thoughts on that as well. Whether who's going to get that last fourth place spot, or is there a case? I mean, there's only 2 points between Leicester and Chelsea, both on the same amount of games. So that could kind of switch. It'd be good. I mean, Thomas Tuchel, for me, mate, since this guy's taken over, he's just been unreal. And to get you to a position you are, you know, in the final of FA Cup and possibly could be in a European final and making top four, you just can't write those things, man. And then we have the faithful Arsenal. You know, yay! Sitting in ninth, yay! Oh my gosh, we're fighting it out with Aston Villa and Leeds. I'm praying that Aston Villa lose their games. I mean, this is how terrible things I've got for Arsenal. We are terrible. 7 losses at home in the Premier League, 13 losses in the Premier League. Boy, it's not good. And with all the Kroenke saga, with you know, that the support was coming down on that Friday night, and stupid Leno with that own goal, could not believe it, mate. Losing 1-0 at home, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then we have we go away to Newcastle yesterday and win 2-0. Aubameyang getting his goal, give him a bit of confidence going into Thursday's game, which is a massive game for us. But let's talk about our teams. So let's talk about Chelsea first. Let's deal with Chelsea, because I think they're the team that's on the up at the moment. In possibly going to be in 2 finals. They're already in 1 final. They'll be playing Leicester. Dave, what's your thoughts, man? Oh, what's going on, bro? What is going on, my friend?
I mean, you know, last time I was on here, I think I was talking about how good Mr. Tickle is. And, you know, I was, telling you guys that this guy's the real deal. Yeah. And I know, a few people are laughing at me, Kofi being one of them, saying he hasn't won much or anything like that. But, I'm so happy that he has proven me right. And again, from back Frank Lampard days, love Frank Lampard.
I'm still there. Go on, Karen talking.
Yeah, love Frank Lampard as a legend for the club, but as a manager, he just wasn't good enough. And we made the ruthless decision, gave him the boot, and it's paid off. Tuchel's come in, he's changed the whole dimension of Chelsea. And quite frankly, I think most teams should be quite happy that he only came in halfway through the season. Because I think next season, with a proper striker, and this is not me even being biased, a proper striker, I think we are going to challenge and compete now, under his gameplay. And he's a manager that can change the team up a bit as well. So, he's not like a Conte that only has one way, it was a 3-4-3 formation. After that, he didn't really have a clue. And again, unlike Frank Lampard, who literally just tells the boys, go out there and have fun, he actually comes with a game plan, and he sees it when we're not playing well, when we're not winning games. He will rectify that maybe in the other half or the next game. For me, he is the real deal. Very good manager. I think he's very close to being world class. When we start winning some titles, then I think you could put him on that bracket. I generally think that we'll probably win the FA Cup. I think we'll beat Leicester in the final. It'll be tight, but I think we'll beat them. And again, all to play for against Madrid. We should have beaten them in the first 20 minutes last week. Yep. So again, it's a case of get the job done early. We're in the Champions League final, and anything can happen in the final. So that'll be a great season, finishing top 4, FA Cup, and winning Champions League. Do
you still stand by your word that Tuchel or Thomas Tuchel is better than Klopp?
Yeah, I do. And I remember I said that before as well. Everyone laughed at me. Everyone questioned where I was going. I remember that. I'm sorry, but it is proven this guy is a much better manager and tactician than Jurgen Klopp, 100%. Liverpool have as much legacy as Blackburn Rovers winning the Premier League. They couldn't retain the title. Total capitulation this season, losing 7-2 to Aston Villa, losing 6 games in a row, 6 home games in a row to Burnley and Fulham being that. That doesn't happen under world-class managers, and I don't feel Klopp is world-class.
Well, I'm gonna give Kofi his chance to defend his team, defend also Jurgen Klopp. Sorry, get the name right. Sorry, apologies. Kofi, go for it, mate.
Yeah, I'm gonna be humble. Well done, Chelsea. They've had a very consistent second half of the season, and You know, Thomas Tuchel's doing the job. Can he be the best thing Chelsea have had? I don't know. We don't know. But we have a World Club champion in Klopp, and you know, he's won us the title. You know, we're probably the first English team to win the continental treble. So, you know, we have something to.
We can't be passing that World Club Championships. You know, you're playing team. It's practically a glorified friendly. We all know that. Yeah, we all know that. Winning
You've got to beat it to win it.
Look, we're in the most competitive, continent, right? The European Champions League is probably the most competitive football. When you're up against, you know, places like China, is it like the Chinese Super League?
Yeah.
You're playing teams in South America. It's not as competitive as European football. We know that. And I'm sorry, I think winning the Champions League is much bigger than winning the club championship. You might as well, you know, state your claim.
We've been in a lot of finals, and you know, we stand there as one of the big teams in Europe.
No, yeah, I'm not arguing that. But what I think Normski asked was, you know, is Klopp a better manager than Tuchel?
Yeah.
I don't think he is, based on results, based on tactics. You can tell that Tuchel knows what he's doing, and I think Klopp, you know, he had a good run. I've got to give it to him. You won the Champions League, and then you won the league after. You was banging in goals, 100 goals, 2 seasons in a row. But it's run its course now. You know, you can tell the players are tired. You know, they can't play that, sustain that.
I've got a guest coming in here. I'm going to just bring him in. And it's just that he's a Man United fan. He's quite controversial. If you heard his thoughts about the European Super League, you would think that the man owns it. So I'm going to bring in no other than the man himself, Mr. Leon Brown, Man United fan.
Good evening, gents. Good evening, gents. Kofi, David.
Well, listen, you come at the start, and it's great, Leon, that you've actually come at the start and you're on time. Yeah, it's some black man time now. This is proper timing. Yeah.
Last time I come
welcome to the show. As I said, we are discussing all things football, and we're just talking about basically how our teams are performing in the Premier League. We will be talking also about the protests. We're going to be talking about social media blackouts. The 4 English teams in the this week. It's a very important week, barring Liverpool. Obviously, they're not in Europe, so Kofi is our Liverpool man there. So Kofi,
never mind Kofi.
And obviously, the man wearing the blue is David Worry. He's a Chelsea man. We were just talking about how well his team's doing since Thomas Tuchel has taken over, Thomas Tickle, as I like to call him. And
I feel like I should go put on my Man United top or something.
Listen, man, if you want to do that, bro, you can do it. I haven't got my Arsenal top on, but you know, if you want to go and do that, man, you can do a wardrobe change. But we're just saying, and we're just discussing, and maybe we just want to get your thoughts as a Man United fan, and you're looking at it from a neutral point of view. David has basically said that Thomas Tuchel is a far better manager than Jurgen Klopp. Now, what are your thoughts on that, Leon? What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Look, I'll be really honest with you, right? I like how Chelsea are doing at the moment. I think Liverpool have unfortunately just had a bad season. I'm not too convinced right now whether it's a managerial thing. I haven't tracked Thomas Tuchel. That's funny. Now I'm never going to be able to say that any different. I'm never going to be able to say it. I'm not really tracked his career. But what I think is actually more important is that Liverpool haven't been able to survive this season without their main man at the back there. My guy,
Mr. Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil van Dijk. I think that has been the biggest problem. We saw when he arrived at Liverpool how all of a sudden they turned into this different team. We're not letting in goals. Liverpool have never had a problem scoring goals. That's never been their problem. Liverpool's problem, in my view, have been that they just never been able to defend. Virgil came in, shored up the back. They won the league. He's been injured. He's been out, and they can't do anything again. And, you know, I think he is the main man for them. So I'm not sure it's a manager thing, whether it's Klopp or whether it's Tuchel, but I think it's a Virgil thing. Liverpool just have not been able to survive without him this season. That's my.
you've got Leo, Kofi. You've got a man that's on your side here.
Thank you.
So
Thank
what
you.
are you saying to that? What are you saying to that first?
Yeah, Van Dijk in any team, right? He's going to be vital. He's going to change, the whole dimension of that team. And I'm sure he's going to, shore up the defense and probably save you about, 10 to 15 goals. For me, I feel that, as a manager, playing for, managing a top team, when you don't have your best centre back, you should still have enough quality in that squad, to at least compete. These men have just come from the back of winning the Champions League and then winning the Premier League. And what Klopp is doing, and what I'm trying to say is he doesn't change his system, right? He goes into every single game trying to, press high, trying to do, the whole expansive football where he just doesn't have the players anymore. Defensively, Trent Alexander, he might as well be back at home. He doesn't like defending whatsoever. You've got Robertson, who always wants to whip him across. Again, he's always far up on the pitch. Change it up. Defensively, you're not that sure in the back anymore. So change up your tactics, change up your strategy, and work from defense first, and then push your way up again. But I just think it's a bit of arrogance. Maybe it's a bit of naivety. I don't know. But personally, for me, I think he should be doing much better in managing the squad. Even without Virgil van Dijk. That's what I think anyway.
Kofi?
My argument would be that obviously the personnel haven't been there. We've lost 3 centre-backs this season, 3 assured centre-backs. The front 3 have been under firing. Arguably, they have been under firing, and, it's cost us games that we should be winning. But in terms of changing tactics, yeah, you could argue that we shouldn't really be playing the high line. But the high line's been working for us. And if Virgil's there, if Matip's there, that high line stays and it works. So in a way, yes, you can argue tactically, we need to change it up a bit. Players do look a bit lethargic. I'm not going to have seen in a few games that there are players that don't really feel as if they have the energy. But the players been running through for a few seasons now, hitting high levels. So you're going to have that dip in performances, and this season is evident.
So, Kof, with your players, your current players like Salah, do you see him staying at Liverpool if you don't get top 4?
Salah's got a big decision to make because if he does decide he wants to leave, where's he going to go? Which league is going to be the league for him to shine? Madrid are an aging team. Barcelona are in transition. Can they afford Salah? Those 2 teams, with them doing their build of their or redevelopment of their stadiums, is there money in Europe for these teams to buy him? And I think Salah's got to make some smart decisions.
Do you think that you need, say, maybe so you look at Firmino for argument's sake, do you think he's run his course now? Do you need like a proper centre forward, because you have been kind of playing with that false 9? Jota's there, so
I've always liked a proper centre forward, and I think it's about time Liverpool reinvested in one. Firmino hasn't performed and is dropping off, and it probably needs a new position for me. Still a classy player, but the centre forward position is not his. And Klopp needs to act upon that. Otherwise, it's going to be the continuation of a declining problem.
So one question then, do you see Liverpool finishing in the top 4 this season with the games that you've got left? It's a big game, obviously, you would have had this weekend against Man U. I think you did come out and actually say that you would have probably lost that game. So you don't seem to have a lot of confidence in your respective team.
Yeah, we've never been good going to Old Trafford. We've had 1 or 2 victories, but we never seem to have the rub of the green in terms of results there. And I do think this season's done. We're not going to finish in top 4 realistically. So yeah, that's it for Liverpool.
Wow.
So do you think next season then you'll be playing Europa on Thursday nights?
We're not even going to go for it, I don't think.
What do you mean?
I think it's better. I remember when Man U missed out on the Champions League and the Europa League, they did better in the league the season after. So I think it's not a bad idea. If you know you're definitely not going to make it into the Champions League, it's not a bad idea to kind of ease off the gas a little bit and give yourself less football to play next season while you rebuild. But having said you won't make it in the Champions League, I'm looking here. You're only 7 points off. You're only 7 points off fourth place. How many games left to go? How many games?
So I think they've got 5 games.
5.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, and David, respectfully as well. So Chelsea's in 4th. Liverpool 6 points behind you. That's 2 games, man. That's not it. I wouldn't say that you guys should step off the gas. You should be playing for Champions League.
We just have not been in the frame of mind to perform, and in the running of this season. It's just,
Kofi. Bro, you sound like you're giving up.
You sound like you're giving up, bro.
I have I have to be honest. Look, I know my team inside out. I've watched the games, and when we haven't scored goals within the first 30-minute time frame, we find it difficult.
Yeah, I know definitely that's one of your bugbears, in terms of the fact that you ain't scoring goals quick enough times.
I also look at the transition of play, and it's just not good enough. It's too slow. The reason why we did not beat Madrid and Chelsea performed better than us is that we just transition play so slowly. It's a shame to see, but I mean, if we had scored a second goal against them in their training ground, it would have been a different game.
They beat their training ground,
Yeah.
Their training ground, exactly.
How the mighty have fallen. This is probably got to be one of the worst, if not possibly the worst, defense of a league title.
We have come across that a few times, and it's not good enough. And there's a lot of factors that have contributed to this. So I'm going to be humble and say we're going to come back strong next season.
I would agree with Leon, though. I wouldn't. I mean, as you say, you sound like a very defeated man. And if my wife was probably on this now, she would be saying, "Don't give up." You know what I mean? Because she's a woman. She's fighting all the way to the end. And if you think about the teams that you got left to play, you got Burnley at home on the 16th. Obviously, Southampton. They're not doing too well. You've got them also. So you've got 2 home games. No, sorry. Yeah. The games. Looking at the games, the only tough game is probably going to be the Man United game.
And there's a game in hand. So.
And the game in hand.
Really, I would not be, if I was a Liverpool fan in this position, I would not be giving up on the hope of Champions League. The danger, though, is that if you go for Champions League and miss out on it, then you're in the Thursday night football and you've got more matches to play. I don't think anybody's really interested in those additional matches, but I certainly would.
Guys, hold on. I've felt the frustration through the whole season with my team. I know my team inside out, and I see the lackluster performances in players, and I see confidence levels are low in a lot of my players. So we can go on and talk about the potential getting into the top 4, but I don't think it's there for us.
You really don't. Wow.
I have to shut the conversation down.
That's a true fan. That's a true fan that says my team ain't gonna do it this season, and I'm not watching your team like how you're watching your team.
Yep.
So respect to that, bro.
Wow. Okay. So listen. We know Chelsea are flying. They could possibly be caught. I mean, I think it's going to flip between Leicester and Chelsea, who would finish fourth. Leicester, as I said, they had a draw against Southampton, against a 10-man Southampton. They should really have wrapped that game up, but unfortunately, they didn't. I've got Manny coming in. You know, I've got everybody joining the party. Hey, Manny, welcome to the
man?
party. Welcome to the What's Going On podcast. And you know,
what's going on, Manny?
I'm good.
I don't want to go over old things. Manny is an Arsenal supporter, so I've got my compadre here. I've got a bit of support here, and I'm hoping Manny will defend Arsenal to the ilk. There's a certain man called Liam. I don't know if he's watching this, but mate, I tell you, that guy is like a deluded Thai sometimes. But yeah, we're just talking about the facts of where we feel that Liverpool is going to end up finishing, where they're going to finish in the top four. It is, as Leon said, it is quite close. I mean, there are only 7 points in it. Chelsea have got Europe to think about. You know, 2 big games, final against Leicester. You know, so it's not going to be as straightforward. But obviously, you know, Chelsea are on the ascendancy at the moment. As for Arsenal, Manny, well, boy, I don't even feel that I should be at the table right now talking about us. But before we actually talk about Arsenal, because they're just a joke of a side, Man U, you know, a lot has gone on this weekend. We've had a game, I don't know if this is a first, where, you know, supporters come down. I heard that the numbers were something like around 10,000 people that came down to the stadium.
Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Leon. I don't know the actual numbers. They ended up literally getting into the stadium. Again, you know, reports are coming out that the staff are denying that they let them in, but there are this stuff, video footage of the staff are opening up the gate and allow them to come into the thingy. Now, maybe they feel a bit aggrieved about these owners. Now, Leon, you need to talk to me about your owners and the Glazers. I know you've stopped becoming a fan of your team and you're now a supporter of your team. You made that very clear in the last podcast, and also even in our chats that we've had, you know, where there was one particular game we decided that that's enough is enough. I'm not going to let this emotionally mess up my life, my family life, you know, and you became a supporter of football rather than a fan of football. Your current owners, the Glazers, and this whole thing that's happened this week, and it's unprecedented what I've seen there, where at first I thought, oh, maybe, yeah, the game will be delayed and they'll play a bit later. Now it's come out, it's obviously postponed. That is massive. That is a massive that the fans could go down there and have that kind of effect. Do you think that the fans can do anything to change the minds of these owners, or the Glazers are going to be there for the next 10 years?
I think
Just bring the money off of the Man U.
So look, I think it's the start, or I hope that it's the start of fans taking back a little bit of the power in the game. I hope it's the start of that. Now, of course, nobody should agree with violence towards staff. Nobody should agree with criminal damage. I do not support that at all. But I do support protest, which is like, we've had enough. The real protest is, I'm not going to buy my season ticket. I'm not going to go to the games. But unfortunately, when people do that, if people give up their season ticket, there's somebody, the list of people who are going to take that season ticket goes on down to the end of the road or round to the next town. So there's no shortage of people that will pick up season tickets. That's why I don't know that it's the right form of action to just not go. So my point would be this. If everybody that held a season ticket did not go to the games for the whole season, right? Well, that's going to affect the team. It doesn't affect the owners in the pocket, but it does affect the team, and it does make a very, very strong statement. I think that, you know, what we saw yesterday was, as much as I wanted to see that game, it's one of the highlight games of the season, Liverpool Man U. But I think it's a good start towards saying, no, we won't. We're not going to stand for rich owners who are literally using the club as a mechanism to extract money for their own other business affairs. So I think it's a good start. I think it's a good start without the criminal damage, without the abuse or violence towards.
Absolutely, and a number of people have actually come out and spoke against the fans. There's no need for them to go down there and cause violence or be disruptive. You know what I mean? Vandalism and all of that. It's not called for. It doesn't paint a good picture, and we don't want to be painted with that picture of hooligans and whatnot. But I do think fan power is strong, especially through social media, through United Stand, through Arsenal TV, and all the other YouTube channels that are coming up now. The fan now has a voice, and these owners have to sit up and take stock for what they did. And now, the Premier League. I don't know if anybody's been following the stories of the Premier League. They're looking at this now and looking at how they can manage this without. They don't want to now have owners that are going to be coming in, and doing what they like with. They have to be properly accountable. And I think this goes back years where we've allowed foreign owners to come in, and this is now the result of it. Okay.
Well, what the Premier League are getting scared of, Norm, is that there's so much money floating around football with these rich owners now that the players' salaries is going up and up and up, and then you get outside interests from richer people who want to start something like the European Super League. Right, do exactly what the Premier League did to the Football League all those years ago, and what the Premier League have sat up and noticed and said, if we don't start listening to the fans, I think they might even be thinking, if we don't reduce the amount of money that's coming into this game, somehow, some way, this European Super League is going to happen, and we're all going to be out of a job, right? We'll lose our money. So it's kind of a weird situation where, in order to keep the money coming in, they need to turn down the dial of the money that's coming in. Do you understand what I mean? They need to turn it down. I think that might be, I don't know how realistic that is. I haven't heard anybody say it. It's just what I'm thinking off my head. But the Premier League need to think very carefully. Otherwise, they will have done to them what they did to the Football League. It will happen. I know we're not talking about the ESL, but the ESL will happen.
It will come in some other form.
It will
come in some other form because football is constantly changing. And yes, they tried it with the big six, the 12 founder members, and as quick as it was formed, 48 hours later, it was completely disbanded. And I know, Leon, you did like the idea.
I don't see what's wrong with it. It makes sense to me. It makes sense in so many ways as a football fan. All right, so I'm not talking as a Man United supporter. I'm talking as a football fan. I want to go to whatever ground it is, Arsenal. I want to go travel to Old Trafford, wherever it might be, and I want to see Man U playing against Real Madrid. I want to see Man U playing against Juventus and against Barcelona. That's what I want to see. It's the best of the best of the best every single week. I don't think you can ask for more than that. And I think as a football fan, that's what I want to see on TV. That's what I want to go and watch. I'm being really honest with you. I am not too interested in watching. I don't watch Man U Burnley. I don't watch Man U Southampton. I don't have time for it. It's like I'll watch the highlights on Match of the Day, or I'll look at the result on the news. I can be doing other stuff. But Man U Real Madrid, yeah, I will watch that game.
I thank you for your honesty. Now, Dave, I needed to have your thoughts on what Leon is saying today. Do you agree with him? Or
not, absolutely not. I don't agree with that. I think for me, there needs to be a sense of competition, and it takes away, that sense of competition in the Premier League, which we are exposed to, more, on a weekly basis. We have X amount of games, and I just feel that, clubs like Arsenal and Tottenham, in that aspect, all due respect, Arsenal are a big club, you've got tons of history, but in terms of recent form, I wouldn't necessarily put you guys, on that same bracket or caliber as Barcelona or Real Madrid. I know money's set up for that, but when you're talking about big games now, I wouldn't necessarily call that a big game anymore. Another big game, I wouldn't necessarily call Tottenham versus Real Madrid a big game anymore. Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich, yeah, that's a mouth-watering game. Barcelona, PSG, absolutely. I'm all for it. Man City, Real Madrid. So for me, I just don't feel that the teams that were included, kind of reflected, the elite clubs, in the world. And I understand, German football, it's part owned by fans, etc. And also understand that obviously there were some regulations with the likes of PSG not being included. But for me, from what Leon's saying, I don't feel that's a true reflection of the elite personally for me. So that's one reason why I wouldn't agree with it. And then two is the whole competition factor, because you could sit 10th in the Premier League and be playing the likes of Real Madrid and not care where you finish in the Premier League. And for me, it's fans who will pay thousands of pounds to see their team, travel those cold nights, Tuesday away games in Burnley or whatever, and then Arsenal won't turn up or Chelsea won't turn up because they don't need to turn up anymore because they're playing in the Super League, on the following Wednesday. So the competition is taken out of it, and all honesty, I just feel that it's just a bunch of billionaires, just strutting out their power and their way, and just trying to show who's boss basically. And us as fans, we're losing out on that aspect.
Can I respond, Norms?
Yeah, go quickly.
Just on one point of clarity, I thought that if the European Super League went ahead, that there would be the teams that were in this ESL would no longer be in their local league. So it wouldn't be.
No, there will be.
They will be.
They would still be in their local leagues, and it would be an additional competition. I never thought that. I thought it would be they'd be out of those leagues.
No. They want to run this in parallel with that. So what would happen is that the ESL, obviously it's gone now, but the ESL competition would be run in midweek. So what they were going to do was going to replace Champions League. That was the hope, because you've got this big fight between ESL and the Champions League, and UEFA are no angels when it comes to this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So that point is clear.
Yeah.
The other point about competition, I still think that I don't think it takes away that much from the Premier League competition. The Champions League doesn't take away from people wanting to win the Premier League. I just don't quite get that.
No, what I was trying to say is that it takes away the competition to trying to get a Champions League spot or trying to win the Premier League. Because, if you finish 7th, you don't get Champions League football, you don't get the TV endorsement rights, etc.
Okay.
So that element.
I'm not sure that's the reason. I'm not sure that's the sole reason why people want to win the Premier League. In my view, if I was a professional athlete, I want to be the best and I want to hold the championship because it means I've won the league. Not because it means I get into the Champions League. It's because it means I am a winner of that particular league. And as a professional athlete, I would like to think that they go into the Premier League saying, okay, look, we don't have to worry about a Champions League spot or about the money that comes with it, but we do have to worry about the fact that we want to be the best of our home domestic league.
I get that 100%. However, when you look at this season in particular, Man City have run away with the league. However, there are 19 other clubs in the league. There are 3 other Champions League spots. At the moment, there are 8 teams fighting for those 3 Champions League spots. It just brings more competition because what's at stake. I'm not saying everyone's fighting for the Premier League and fighting to be top spot. But what happens when that top spot is gone? You already know Man City won it. It's the fight for European football. You've got Leeds in there, you've got Wolves, who want maybe Europa League football as well. It's the fight for that competitiveness. That's where I'm trying to say it kind of takes away from that because clubs like Arsenal can sit there in 9th and say, do you know what? It's fine. We don't need European football anymore. We've got the ESL next week, and we don't have to qualify for that because we've already been included in the ESL already. And that's
I mean, just to come in there, basically the way that ESL league was going to be set up is that the 12 founder teams or 15, whatever it was, they will never ever get relegated out of that. They will always be there. You will have like 5 other teams that will try and get.
That's just how they presented it right now. I don't think that scenario could have lasted forever. The more teams would have come into the league, and just in terms of logistics, you wouldn't have been able to fit all of the teams in the ESL and all of their domestic leagues without creating an ESL league structure. It might have been like that for the first year, 2 years, maybe even 5 years. But eventually, the more teams in that ESL, the more money for the owners. So they will definitely, in my view, they will definitely create an ESL league with maybe 2 divisions.
I think Manny made that point. Manny made that point a couple of weeks back on the show, and he said that there's a possibility that you could have a 2-tier. You know, you have the ESL League 1 and the ESL League 2. Because as you rightly say, Leon, the more teams come into it, the more money that's generated. That's what could happen, and then it would probably totally break away. I mean, there's the way I understood when it was first introduced, not this ESL, but there was one of that Super League, Europe Super League, where it was going to be like you get promoted from the Premier League to this elite competition, not competition. It was another league. So if I don't know, 18 teams in that it was a Super League. It was called the Super League or whatever it was. And so you'd have the same kind of format. 3 people would get relegated back into the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? So that was the format you were going to take. I would have probably preferred that to this particular model that we're seeing now. I just feel that it was unfair, and I think what it was is that the likes of Kroenke, and Manny will probably agree with me here, I think because they weren't going to get a bit of the pie, Arsenal are only going in one direction right now, and that's down. Okay, I can't see anywhere where we're going to make the top 4 for the next 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm saying that honestly now, with the current owners that we've got, there's just no way I can see, because the investment, they maybe people say that they invested, but they were investing in the wrong. I think the leadership, the ownership, I think is just badly managed. We bought the wrong players, and look where we are now. You know, we're fighting it out with Aston Villa and Leeds. Where I'm praying Aston Villa lose the game. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
this is where we're falling to. Manny, I don't know what you want to say on that.
Yeah. Although having said that, Thomas Tuchel does show the value of having an excellent manager. You know, and so there's a big question mark about whether or not, certainly of a club of Arsenal's resources, we're still in the top 10 wealthiest clubs in the world. The right management, we could do well. But I think, just going back to the issue of the European Super League, I think it's such a complicated issue. It's not as straightforward, because even when from a fan's perspective, it's not clear to me that there is a clear uniform line as to why people oppose the European Super League. Some people are talking about competition, relegation, promotion. Other people have some wider issues about how fans are treated. There is this distinction between fans and supporters, which I think is an underlying issue here, about the people that regularly go to the games and how they view other people who don't go to the games. And I think there's a really interesting, I don't know if you've seen some of the tension with some of these fan YouTube channels in terms of, United Stand, AFTV, and how some of the kind of more traditional fans and traditional media platforms view them. I won't go into too much about them, but I think there's a really interesting dynamic there. But in terms of the clubs, and this isn't me saying that I'm in any way supportive of kind of Kroenke or the people who run Liverpool or whatever. But their viewpoint is that, look, if we take the Premiership, they will say that we play a large part in terms of generating the revenue and international revenue, and yet they don't feel as though they get an appropriate amount of say in terms of the direction of the Premier League. Now, whether that's right or wrong, there is an argument for sort of saying, okay, the brand of the Premier League has been disproportionately driven by those massive clubs who have huge fan bases, who've always been part of the Premier League, who have the revenue to bring in the big players. Right? There is this, we enjoy the product. The fans who are on the ground at Old Trafford, they enjoy having, the products, the great players on the pitch. That costs money. The other point around UEFA, what a lot of people have kind of missed out is that this Swiss model has got in through the back door. which, as far as I can see, is a kind of East European Super League light competition where I think it's going to be 36 teams qualify, and you will be able to qualify based on historical performance. So on that basis, Liverpool would have qualified irrespective of where they finished in the league based on their historical performance. So there's a kind of complexity there that I don't think is straightforward. I'm against the European Super League, but I do think that there are some issues that need to be resolved in terms of, ownership. Because this will be my last point, and I'll shut up for a bit. You've got a lot of people talking about, all right, they don't want Kroenke or they don't want the Glaziers. What we want is another billionaire to come and run the club. Well, that to me seems to be, isn't that a fundamental issue of what we're talking about? That we don't want, that we're saying that we want. If you want more competition, then the answer isn't going to be more billionaires running the clubs. And if you look at the European leagues across Europe in the last 10 years, they've become less competitive. PSG, I think, was 6 years on the trot. I know Inter have just won the Italian league, but it was 9 years on the trot. Ajax, years on at Bayern Munich. So we talk about this fan model that is being talked about, 50+1. You look at the German league, I'd argue that's one of the most that's the least competitive of all of the big leagues.
Yeah.
So fan ownership hasn't done anything, in my view, in terms of addressing the issue of competition. So I think it's more of a complicated issue.
Very complex. Very complex. What's your views before we kind of move on to the next one? I just probably want to read a Premier League statement before we move on to our next topic. Kofi, just what's your...
I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I agree with Manny that it is very complex. When you look at the traditions of the Champions League, European Cup, and other European competitions, and how teams have battled and struggled to get into these competitions, and it's an extra incentive for a lot of the smaller clubs who have ever thought of getting into the European competitions. I think it takes away the passion that has been throughout the leagues, that a lot of teams have this incentive to get into these European competitions. And on a fan's perspective, football is worldwide, and a lot of fans in various parts of the world have favorite teams in the big clubs. So, I mean, in Africa, you see a lot of the Big Six teams being supported, and you see the football competitions, televised games. They want to see the big games week in, week out. They want to see the Real Madrids versus the English teams. They want to see the competitions of the major European big clubs. So in a way of it being done, it has to be a way that it's going to be beneficial to all leagues. It's going to have to be done in a way that it's not going to take away the core competitions of the traditional European competitions, and it has to be beneficial to all clubs, I think.
No, yeah, a good point. I just think that model, it just seemed like it was just this elite group, and the 5 teams that were welcome to the party would come in and take the scraps off the table and whatnot. And I just didn't like the sound of it, didn't like the setup. But yes, it's great seeing, but I don't know if I could probably be watching that for years. I mean, I like the idea of teams like Leicester that have come up from league, whatever it is, to win the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Those sort of things that you dream about, you know, teams that were way down in the, you know, coming from the conference. You know, you take Jamie Vardy, who played in conference, he's now Premier League winner. You know, I think that allows for that, and I think I like that, to dream big, and I think having that ESL league, I think, would have taken it away from it. Yes, they said it's gonna help football across the globe, but you know what it is you've got like the Premier League. Even I think UEFA feel threatened by the Premier League because that is the biggest, if not, you know, in terms of money making thing. You know, they're always knocking the Premier League. You know what I mean? Underhanded. But I think the Premier League is the biggest selling marketing tool, and I feel UEFA, you know, they have their nose knocked out of joint, and now, you know, you've got this ESL league that was meant to happen. It's not going to happen. I think a lot of the owners wanted a bit of the pie. They wanted to say, well, because, as Manny said, because those 6 teams are the ones that are driving the revenue, yeah, if you take them out of the league, then, you know, people are going to stop watching the Premier League. And then that's how they're going to lose that. So the Premier League are massively against this. And they came up with a Premier League statement today. Just read it. It was released this afternoon. It said, you might have seen it. It says the events of the last 2 weeks have challenged the foundations and resolve of English football. The Premier League has prepared a series of measures to enshrine the core principles of the professional game and an open pyramid progression through sporting merit and the highest standards of sporting integrity. These measures are designed to stop the threat of breakaway leagues in the future. The actions of a few clubs cannot be allowed to create such division and disruption. We are determined to establish the truth of what happened and to hold those clubs accountable for their decisions and actions. We and the FA are pursuing these objectives strictly and appropriately, consulting with the fans and with the government. Just quickly, your thoughts on that before we move on to the social media.
I think that's absolutely disgraceful.
Okay. Yeah, why do you say that, Leo?
Look, this is why I think that, right? Basically, what the Premier League is saying is that we want to create a cartel which no team can get away from. That's what that statement says. That statement says we want to create a legal cartel we want
to keep what we got.
No, that's not what it's saying. Is that we want to create a legally binding cartel with the government giving it its stamp of approval, with the fans and with the clubs. I don't think they mentioned the clubs. They said with the government and with the fans. So essentially what they want to do is they want to push the clubs into the corner where the club is now bound to the Premier League forever, so that what they've done to the Football League in 1991 can never be done to them by a European Super League or anybody else. It's a disgraceful, absolutely astonishing attempt at creating a footballing cartel. It's horrible.
I take it that you disagree with that statement. Dave, what are your thoughts on that quickly? Do you agree with what Leon has said, or do you think that the Premier League are right?
I don't agree with the ESL, but the Premier Leagues are no angels. They're just trying to protect what was done to them. So I get where Leon's coming from there. To be fair,
Okay, Cove.
Yeah, I mean, a big statement from the Premier League. They have to protect themselves at all costs, and they really don't want to have egg on their face as well. So it's a two-way street here. Premier League put in their standpoint, and they have to come out and be defiant in the way. They can't let this situation slide, and they have to come out and say why they believe that this cannot happen.
Manny?
I think it's quite interesting that it's the Premier League that are issuing this statement, because I think there's a big question mark about what is the role of the FA. I thought they were supposed to be the guardians of the national game, and yet I don't ever hear them say much, about this. The second bit is that we don't hear from the English Football League, so the other league clubs. So there is very much an argument, which Leon has highlighted, that you could view this as a Premier League just looking after themselves. It's not a joint statement from all 92 clubs saying that, or 92 minus.
No, this is the Premier League.
It's the Premier League saying we don't
want all the money.
Our product, but it's not. They've not invited Stoke or Wickham, to have their say on it. Yeah. So you've got to wonder, and this is where the FA comes into it, is that the Premier League are interested in the Premier League. And they're interested in protecting their product, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they're here to do. Mm. But it says something that the supposed guardians of the game don't really appear to have much of a view on this. Because they really, if they're saying that, look, we're interested in the pyramid and the pyramid system is really important to us, then shouldn't there be a kind of national statement from all of the clubs saying that we are all in this together and we're going to protect each other? Mm. But it's not going to be like that, is it?
No. Truth be told. money certainly talks, man, I'll tell you. But this ain't going away. This is going to be rumbling on for God knows how long. And as you say, there will, you've got, what's the guy from Real Madrid and the Juventus guy. Listen, they're digging their heels in, but they do believe that there's going to be some reform in football in terms of some sort of European Super League. Maybe 2 years down the road, they're going to come with something different. Yeah, maybe the Premier League want to get these owners out. The government, the Premier League are pushing for a lot of these owners, especially the American owners, to try and get them out of the club. For Arsenal, we're looking at Daniel Ek from Spotify. Now, if he came in, would he make a difference to the club in terms of a philosophy on a team? Tonight you heard, or this evening, I was listening to Thierry Henry, and he's obviously part of the consortium, and he's saying it's about the fans. It's about getting Arsenal back to where they should be. He obviously couldn't give too much details. He said he's not a billionaire. He's only there to give his point of view and to help support this thing through. And he says that Daniel ain't going away. He's going to be sitting in for the long haul because he believes that at some point the Conclaves will, or KSC will decide to sell the club. I'm hoping that the fans can hit them where it hurts their pockets. Are fans brave enough to, boycott games? Football, that's the thing. Leon said it, Can you imagine next season if, all the fans got together and said, look, let's just don't go, because that's going to be shown on national TV. When you see it now, it's the pandemic, so it's understandable. They're still running football. But now that everything, the lockdown will be gone and everything, and fans back in the stadium, they need to make a statement. And fans need to, walk the walk. It's all right talking it, but when you don't see fans turning up at a stadium, stop buying the merchandise, it's going to start hitting their pockets. It's going to start hitting in their pockets.
But you know what, though? I think potentially that could happen because what we saw yesterday, we would never imagine it to happen, and it took place, and they actually stopped such a big game, one of the biggest fixtures in the Premier League era. They stopped that from taking place. And I think it goes back to this generation, even when you look at the whole protest with the BLM movement, enough is enough. It's that generation where it's like, we're not taking it anymore, and I think that social media is a big influence for this as well, with groups coming together, planning these takeovers or planning these protests, etc., and making a movement out of it, making things happen and making their voices heard. So I think potentially it could have happened. If you said 10 years ago, I probably would have doubted it. But now seeing what I saw yesterday and the whole protests and the whole different movements that's taking place in the world, I think that Yeah, it probably
They need to carry on the momentum. It's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
I want to get these guys out. Sorry, go on, Manny.
But
Playing
I
devil's
also think
advocate.
that-
Oh, sorry.
so.
Go on, Manny, and then
Oh,
Kofi.
go on.
But playing
Go on.
devil's advocate, there's a couple of points. One, why was there no protest for the Man United v Roma game? Two, you could argue that this particular game certainly was far more important for Liverpool than it was for Man United. If this was a game where Man United could have won the league title or were still in a credible league title race, would we have seen the protest? Is a big question. And the last point I'd make in this is that midweek last week, after the Man City PSG game, it was really interesting, and the Chelsea Real Madrid game, how quickly people moved on from the discussions around ESL. People were back onto, isn't this Champions League format brilliant? Look at the standard of football. Aren't these two teams brilliant? So I just wonder how, if the game was really important, would we have seen this?
No, and we shouldn't have seen it on a game that was really important. It was organised by the Man U fans to make a point about the Manchester United club, and it was done at a time which wouldn't hurt their prospects in the league. I don't think we would have seen it earlier in the league, exactly as you said, Manny. I completely agree with you. And I don't think we should have seen it earlier in the league. I think it was a very, very cleverly timed protest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Liverpool, but the game, it's only a postponement. It's not a cancellation. The game will go ahead.
Yeah.
So I think it was a very, very cleverly timed protest from the supporters about their club. And forget all the other clubs at the moment. It was our club, our time to protest, well timed. I don't think they could have timed it any better, to be honest.
Yeah, no. Biggest game. Everybody, the whole world is watching that. I mean, to the point where our game was on. A dead rubber game, against Newcastle. They were doing split screens.
Really? Wow.
Let's go to Man U now. We have breaking news. Yes. What's the breaking news? The game is delayed. I'm trying to watch my Arsenal game. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. It is what it is. But this just tells you the social media, the power that it has, and the fact that the Glazers have seen this. So they've got a lot to think about. David did touch on something about social media, and that's where I want to move on to quickly. And this weekend, the social media blackout. I just want to kind of get your thoughts on that. Obviously, all the clubs have decided that they're going to do a social media blackout to 11:59 tonight. Now, is this, we talked about Black Lives Matter, we talked about taking a knee and everything, and there's been comments about the fact that it's just becoming just another token thing that everybody does now. It doesn't have no real meaning. We can see the amount of social media abuse that's going on online, especially when it comes to racist abuse. I sent a thing. I don't know if I sent it on the Man's Dem and the Arsenal. Ian Wright. I was doing an interview with Alan Shearer, and he played in the video, and obviously there was some profanity in there and about his colour and stuff like that. Thierry Henry took a big decision to basically, he's got how many million followers on Twitter. He's decided that's going to stop. He ain't going to go on it until this thing is sorted out. Now, the big football clubs, Arsenal, Man U, they've made a point by saying, Premier League, they've made a point by saying we're going to do a total blackout for, I don't know if it's 48 hours or 72 hours of no social media. Do you think what they're doing will have any significant effect, any long-term effect, or do you just see it as just another token gesture, just another tick the box? Let me have your thoughts, guys. Kofi.
I think they're right in doing it. The abuse online has got to a point that it's just become so aggressive, and there has to be no place for it. It just feels so easy for a lot of people just to come on and give abuse to players around the footballing circle, and it's a standpoint where it has to be taken seriously, and it has to be pressed on hard, because social media is a wide place, a wide forum, and unless it's being pushed on a regular basis, it's going to continue.
Okay.
Abuse is going to continue.
So you think they should continue doing this, or do you just don't you think it's? I mean, to me, I don't know. It's just me. I just think it's just another tick box. That's my thoughts on it. But you see it as something important, Kof.
Yeah, I do, because then they're going to have continuous discussions about abuse online, and it's going to continue going on until somebody's going to get seriously, players are seriously getting affected by it.
So after this blackout, yeah, we go back to normal. It's going to carry on. So that's what I'm trying to say. Do you think that are they having any effect? Do you think this is really having any effect? Because we've seen it before. It's happened before. If they had the when they were fighting for this ESL to be stopped, the amount of energy that they put behind that, why can't they do that? It's the same for online abuse, especially amongst people of color. David, I know you've got to bounce soon. Let me just ask you your thoughts on that, your thoughts on social media and what you think about this blackout.
No, I think you've hit on the nail. I think it's just another token gesture, of the FA or football clubs trying to show that they stand, with us, and they sympathise with what's going on. Honestly, they don't do enough. There's not enough rhetoric around the issues that lie on social media, which are the racial abuse that professional athletes and ex-professional athletes receive on a daily basis. They have to do more. They've got to talk more about it. And you saw an example where Gary Neville, I think this was to do with racial abuse online. Gary Neville spoke out. He was very much against it, and the Sky presenter at the time said, "Oh, just to let you know, that wasn't the voice of Sky. That wasn't Sky's opinions," or something like that. Just to clarify that. Do you know what I mean? That for me was shocking. Like, come on, and then they want to, get on their high horse when it comes to the whole ESL. And of course, what we saw yesterday as well, talking of, you heard Graham Souness, talking about how he could have got injured, and and heightening obviously what took place on the day. And I feel that if they had the same energy about, black players, being racially abused, then we wouldn't be in this position that we are today. And again, why is it that there aren't any black managers out there as well? We've had so many talented black footballers, who have graced us on the screens. But when it comes to management, it seems like there is some sort of glass ceiling that they can never, ever come over, And again, that's not talked about enough. You've got Ryan Mason, a 28-year-old inexperienced manager, managing Tottenham, when you had 3 well-experienced black coaches at Tottenham, Ledley King, Chris Powell, I thought the other guy. Do you know what I mean? 3 experienced coaches who played the game themselves. Chris Powell has managed teams beforehand. They didn't give them the job, but they gave it to Ryan Mason yet again. Why is that being overlooked? I don't understand. Why weren't pundits talking about that? I really just do not get it. For me, it frustrates me. So when they do all this social media stuff, I don't get involved. I don't even bother. Like, seriously, because they could be doing way more. It's just a publicity stunt for me.
David, I completely agree with you on the whole kind of Tottenham situation. And for me, the way I kind of run my life, my business, things I say to my children are, the measure of any action is its impact. That's it. The measure of any action that you do is the impact that action takes. And if that action is not having an impact, it's a waste of time. Don't do it. It's useless, right? So we're talking about abuse here. And I know this, I don't want to give a crude example, but we are talking about racial abuse, not too dissimilar from physical abuse.
Yeah.
It's like a housewife being abused by, or a woman being abused by a husband, or a husband being abused by their wife, and saying, you know what, I'm going to go away from the house for the weekend. I'll see you back on Monday. It doesn't stop the abuse from happening. It just paused it for a period of time. There's zero change.
Yeah.
So whilst I completely also agree with Kofi, it needs to be done, but it doesn't. It's fluff. It needs to be done. It needs to make a statement. But in my personal view, it's not going to change the situation. And I tell you what, if there was money at stake, you would see a different reaction.
Yeah.
Simple.
Can I just come back for you? I don't know if you watched the video, and Ian Wright made a point by saying that if he's got white friends, white allies, if they were the ones to come up and, as David said, Gary Neville he touched the subject, and because Sky didn't like it, they had to then come up with this statement to say this is not what Sky is about, basically. Now, what I heard that I couldn't believe, or I was also seeing the systemic racism in it's just unreal, and they're not doing nothing about it. It's the same thing, tick box, tick, ticket. It doesn't mean anything. Them going on in it doesn't mean anything no more. It's just like, it looks good for social media. Let's just do it. Nothing is changing, because once this blackout is done, they're just going to go back and carry on doing the same thing. What are the powers that these social media companies can do to stop? As soon as they type something in there, monkey emojis or whatever it is, they need to start tracing. I think they caught somebody, traced them back to, I can't remember what country it was on the news today, and managed to arrest him. I can't remember if it was if it was in Switzerland, I can't remember, to be quite honest, but they managed to trace somebody that did some online abuse, and they managed to trace it back to him and arrested this teenager. There's a lot of these trolls are teenagers. Yeah, they need to be educated. Yeah, what is the education program?
My thoughts are that the FA and Sky and the clubs need to be using their power and influence to drive forward legislation. I mean, one of the issues related to the social media attacks is that it's not just football, it's politicians, it's anybody who is on the media, and it is putting off minorities from going into public life because they are quite fearful of what they're going to receive. And as far as I'm concerned, what you said, Norm, is at the start, is that the energy that was used to get on the phone to Boris Johnson to say, look, these 6 clubs are trying to break away, they could be on the phone, and not just, and this is the thing, it's not just the Premier League, it's Sky, ITV, BBC, they could all be getting on the phone and saying, look, we're not saying that this is a situation that's going to change overnight, but at the very least, you could introduce mechanisms whereby people cannot be totally anonymous online.
Yeah.
You can't just set up a Twitter account or a Facebook account anonymously and publish whatever you want. You are a many billion pound business. You've got some of the sharpest brains in the world. You can make this happen overnight. And they need to be using that energy to make that happen. Otherwise, we're going to get to the time, as you saw in the NBA, with one of the games where the players just said they're not going to play. And we're not too far away from that point. Because one of the kind of slightly uncomfortable aspects of the whole discussion around social media, Black Lives Matter, kneeling, this has been done in the absence of fans in the ground. Hand on heart, can we be confident that we wouldn't have a significant proportion of stadiums booing or making noise during the game?
Let me make a point here. When they allowed fans, this was last year, they allowed, I think it was at Millwall, and there was another club, I can't remember who it was, where they allowed fans to come in. There was a certain amount of fans that could come in, 2,000 fans. And it happened at Millwall and it happened at another club. I can't remember. And literally, when they took the knee, you got the booing. And it was immediately, the people, the pundits were, immediately on it and saying that it's totally wrong, it's out of order, and they need to extract those people. I mean, but it was coming from a significant amount of people, booing. And as you rightly said, Manny,
I'm going to be controversial. I think the Premier League are sort of, my hunch is they do not want this to be. They wouldn't want the kneeling to happen when the crowds are back. I think they're thinking
listen, mate, it will go pear-shaped.
This could lead to some real serious issues where if players are kneeling and there's booing or there's anything, you're going to see some really kind of. It's not going to be nice for a lot of people. It's not going to be a nice look.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things.
Sorry, my mic was muted. I was going to say, you don't think that the fans would actually respect that?
Well, I'm not. I think the overwhelming majority would, but I think there'll be enough for it to be. You only need to go onto social media, and we're not talking about social media where people are being abusive, but to pick up, there's quite a few people who, for whatever reason, don't agree with the action.
Okay.
Right, and at the moment, and if you had a crowd, let's say, if you only need to have 1,000, 2,000 people who are voicing their disquiet, and I actually think that would be deeply distressing for the players on the field. Really, really quite distressing.
Manny, just before you finish, Dave, listen, I know you got to shoot, mate, but listen, just before you go, just want to get your thoughts on quickly, where do you think you're going to be this week, playing in the Champions League final, going out to Real Madrid? Come on, speak to me, bro.
Do you know what?
Don't tell me about the other team. I just want to hear about your team.
Okay. I think we're going to win.
Champions League or against Real Madrid?
No, against Real Madrid. I don't know about the Champions. Yeah, we're going to win against Real Madrid. We're winning.
Okay. And who do you think you're going to meet? Who do you think you're going to meet?
Man City.
Okay, Leo, quickly.
I just want to give you props, David. The way your team played against Real Madrid the other day was beautiful. Against Real Madrid, absolutely beautiful football. Beautiful football. It was just great to watch. And I'm a big supporter of English teams in the European Champions League. So good luck. I hope to see an all-English final, and whoever wins. But yeah, good luck.
Listen, mate, take it easy. Mate. Thanks for coming on, mate. Cheers.
Yeah. Yes, man. We need to chat in a moment as well.
Yeah. We're coming to the close now. So after you make your statement, I just want to ask your thoughts on where we are going to finish in terms of our respective teams. Yeah, just want to get your thoughts on that, and whether it is going to be an all English final. So just before it, Manny, you just want to carry on with regards to the social media blackout.
Yeah, so for me, it's just basically echoing what everybody else says. Unless they come out and use their power and influence to talk to the government about legislation, for me, it's cosmetic.
Mm. Guys, just quickly, do you think that when it comes to racism in football or generally in sport, do you think it's, when growing up and used to hear about players that were abused on the terraces, and especially in football anyway, do you think it's got better, having the awareness of what's happening, because obviously social media is there, or do you think it's worse? Anybody?
Go on.
Anybody.
I mean, I've grown up, seeing racism, name calling and things like that. But I don't know, in sport, definitely it has increased. I feel as if that not enough has been done over the years. And, we're seeing full force of racism and racists come out on all fronts in society.
So you definitely think there's definitely an increase
Yeah,
in there.
I do.
Leon?
I think it's more covert. I think it's done more slickly. I don't know whether there's an increase or not. I don't know. I just think it's not as obvious. There's less hooliganism, and the hooliganism is where you would see the obvious racial abuse and the obvious fighting. There's less of that. Look, racism is an unseen, untouchable scourge and disease that is a system of behavior, and those systems of behavior take generations to die. It feels like there's a change to me. I don't know if it's a massive one. It feels like there's a change, but
Leon, when you say it feels like there's a change, is that because of what I've mentioned in terms of the whole awareness? The Premier League and footballers taking a knee, doing a social media blackout. Do you think that goes somewhere into you seeing that change? I know you said it's covert, and then obviously where it will probably come out is if you met another, say, opposite fan, and you're having a go at him, and then you say yeah, and then him let go of the word, him let go of the word. Yeah, you understand? But because people can use social media and hide behind fake accounts and whatnot, the increase in social media abuse is just absolutely crazy.
And also, clever kids can get computers to respond. I mean, there's a lot of bots out there that just respond to anything. It's not all human behavior. So, and trust me, I'm not defending.
That's interesting. Look at it that way, Leon.
It's not
interesting.
It's not all human. It's not all human behavior. A lot of it is bots that are just programmed to spam abuse. So some of that is one person can spam hundreds of people with abuse, and it's one person that's programmed a computer to do it. Now, it doesn't mean that racism has improved or racism has got worse. It just means one clever kid has been able to devise a system which is abusing a lot of different players all at one time. Okay, all right.
But the issue also is that
that's a good point.
I mean, a lot of people have access to creating multiple accounts in social media, and to crack down on each individual then becomes difficult, and people can create multiple names.
So, Kofi, let me respond to that, right? That's true. People can create multiple names. People can create multiple accounts. But we're talking about multi-billion-dollar tech giants. Twitter, Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Clubhouse. These are multi-billion-dollar companies, right? Most of them, maybe not the newer ones. The point is, if they wanted to crack down on it, they could crack down on it. They can cancel accounts. We've seen people have their accounts cancelled. The question is there an appetite to do it, Norms? Is there an appetite to cancel these accounts and to cancel these, even if there are automated accounts? Is there an appetite to do it? There's definitely technology to do it.
Yeah,
it's definitely there. It exists.
Yep.
Look. Let me just say this, right? We've been through 1 year of the most weird times in the history of our planet, and we saw governments around the world react like that to do something. Yep. Forget what the reason was. We saw them react like that.
Yep.
We saw in 1 year the creation, development, and some kind of testing of something that they're going to inject into you. Let's not go into the politics of what that is. Let's leave that alone. All right. But in the space of a year, they've done that, and they've distributed this all around the world just like that.
Yep.
People are lining up. We've had how many millions of people be injected in the UK since the start of this year?
23 million.
The point is this. The point I'm saying is this. Wherever there's the appetite to do something, governments and institutions around the world will do it. It's simple. And it is just, for me, it's just really plain and simple. Wherever there's the appetite to do something, they will get it done. And so the fact that we still have racism in our society, the fact that football is a microcosm of the whole society in general, it just tells me that the appetite to change is not there. And so they can paint the little pictures and do the little fluff, put on the makeup on. But when you take off the makeup, you're still ugly. That's just...
Thank you for that, bro. Manny,
You get my point. You get my point.
I get it, absolutely.
I mean, I think, I try and remain optimistic. So from growing up in the 80s to growing up to where we are now, I personally don't feel as though I encounter anywhere near as much overt racism. And, in terms of wanting to live anywhere else in Europe, there isn't a country that I would rather be in. Now, you can make of that statement what you will. I'm not in any way, that's not a kind of political stance. It's just, it's a statement of where I think the country has gone. What I will say is that I am surprised that the kind of the numbers of black managers in the game is not keeping pace with the number of black players in the game, and that's concerning me. It concerns me that you've got players who played during the 80s and the 90s and the noughties who've got so much talent, ability, knowledge of the game, who appear to be just wasted and not being used in the game, who actually think about how much they could offer to the game now if they, experienced players like, Sol Campbell, Ian Wright, people like Viv Anderson. When you talk about the kind of the things that players like John Barnes went through, and you think, what couldn't he give to the game for younger players now? So that sort of thing worries me. I also think there is a lot of, as I said, I talked about that kind of whole social media thing and how, it's a really, I don't know if you saw the video clip of Ray Parlour and Robbie AFTV on the Talk Sport.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really disappointing.
Yeah.
Whatever you think about AFTV, they don't want the team to lose, and they provide a voice for a section of the fans who maybe don't feel comfortable going to the game. It's not just about people who can't get to the game. It's a question of people who don't feel comfortable going to the game.
Yeah.
You look at London clubs where their stadiums are located, incredibly diverse populations, and that's not reflected in the people in the stands. You've got to ask the question why. Some of that is economic. The tickets cost a lot of money, but some of it is about how comfortable do people of colour feel to go to football games.
Yeah.
Manny, if I could just say on your point about black managers in football, I think we do have to have both sides of the argument here, which is to say how many of these fantastic black footballers that have been through the league, played well, done fantastic stuff for their teams while they were players. How many of them actually want to be in management and have not had the opportunities? And we don't have the answer to that question. We don't know whether it's a question of I want to do it and I'm not getting the opportunities, I'm being rejected, I'm being barred, or whether they just feel uncomfortable, whether it's unspoken, or whether they simply don't want to do it. So I think you're right. It is disproportional in terms of the number of managers versus the number of players. But I don't know, or I haven't seen or heard enough of black players wanting to be in management and coaching positions that haven't been there. Heard of some, clearly. We've heard of some, but not enough to make an assessment, I don't think.
I mean, if you look at America, and that's probably why the Rooney Law came out in America, because you had, especially in basketball, you had a lot of black players, and so the ex-players that wanted to go into management weren't getting the opportunity, so they made up a noise about it, and hence why the Rooney. We haven't got the Rooney Law here because, as Leon rightly says, there's not enough black players. You have the odd one or two. You've got Sol Campbell, who managed. I think he managed Southend.
He was at Macclesfield for a bit.
Macclesfield, yeah, Notts County, I think Notts County as well. But there's not enough, as you rightly say. There's a lot of playing in the game, but there's not enough saying, you know. I mean, you every now and again you'll hear what's the name pipe up? What's the guy York? Dwight York. Pipe up. Yeah, he will say something. You've got the Chelsea player, the Dutch player. What's his name?
Hasselbank, he's managing, isn't he?
He's managing, but there's not a lot that are saying, "Give me that chance." You know what I mean?
And what I also want to see as well, I want to see black managers there on merit.
Yeah,
not on proportional representation.
Yeah.
I want to see black managers in the position on merit based on the fact you had the Southend job and Southend went up from division whatever it is to the division above. You know what? Let's give you a little call. Let's give you a little tinkle. Hey, do you want to have a try here? Yeah. So, you know, I'm not disparaging their ability at all. I just want to see it happen on merit, on a level playing field. If the playing field's not level, then we've got a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I agree. I think I wouldn't want to have any quotas. I wouldn't want any of that. I mean, I think there probably is some mileage in the FA. I don't know if they're already doing that in terms of trying from a very early playing age for the players, getting them to think about coaching, maybe for the future. You know, to sort of say, look, once you finish playing, you know, you should be considering coaching, football management, football administration, CEOs, ownership of clubs, running clubs. Maybe if they had a program,
there has to be some sort of pathway.
Yeah,
when you move, transition from playing football, and there's some pathway that's there presented for you, to give you that opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of times,
psychologically, and this would be the last, but because psychologically, it's important to have black males in positions of authority and power. Where they're seen to be using their brains, making decisions, calling shots. So I think if you sat down with the current cohort of black players and said, look, I know that by the time you finish the game, you will have millions. You don't need to do this. Actually, players like you, Rashford and Sterling, you have a responsibility to give back to the next generation.
Absolutely.
And we want someone here out of you to go on and be the first manager of England.
What do you think happened to Frank Lampard? His uncle was like, "Come on, son, you're doing great. You're playing great for Chelsea. You know, you're a fantastic footballer. But after football, this is where you're going." You know,
he's going to be the next England manager, I guarantee you.
That we do need somebody to say, you know, look, here's the pathway for you. Here's your career path. Maybe you want to think about going out. It's a great point, Manny.
You know what, as well, though, Manny, you made a very good point, and outside of football. So, can you imagine if you had black managers in those positions of authority? Because you have got a lot of young black kids that go into football. Yeah, some fall away, but it would be good for them to be looking at these guys and wanting to achieve that, because you have a lot of young black boys that go into football but only go so far. And then they end up, you know, I know we're going away from football, but they end up going down the wrong path. They had a chance of making it, but because they haven't got that role model to look up. And I think outside of football, or what you're saying is that how it can affect the wider field. If you had more black managers in position of authority in football, one, it's a big influence. A lot of people watch the game. Yeah. That would have a positive effect on our young black boys growing up. We don't see enough people of color in that position of authority. So it's important that a pathway is created for them. And as Leon rightly said, you look at Frank Lampard, his pathway was more or less, you could see that he was going to go. You just listening to him, his dad having his arm around him and making sure that it didn't happen. And he's probably going to be the next England manager. Do you know what I mean? So I think, you know, I don't want to hear, as you said, I don't want to be here quotas or nothing like that. It has to be done on merit. But we need more opportunities for black players. It's easy it's easy for us to just say, yeah, I'm earning 300,000 a week, 200 or 150,000 a week. You've got everything in the bank. What are they doing now? What are they doing after that now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're just sitting around and I don't know. I don't know what happens after they retire.
It's such a tough one, right? Because when somebody's finished their career and they've earned that amount of money, they deserve to enjoy it. It's like it's a kind of like as an individual, you've had your career, whether that's a 40-year career in industry or whether it's a 12, 15-year career in football. You've had your career. You kind of deserve to enjoy it. But on the other hand, it's like, well, we need you not to enjoy it for a little while, so that other people so you can lead the way, so you can trailblaze for the ones behind you. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah,
I mean, there has to be more open opportunity created, just so it gives ex-black players a chance. And you know, if there isn't, and you know, players tend to feel, oh well, I finished my footballing career. Let me just I can go into punditry, I can go into other areas, but you know, the fear of there not being that basis of I can be a manager, it's going to be a long time before we see that barrier broken.
And it's important because you know we hear it when you hear the commentary of the games, how certain players are described and different players are described in other ways. You take a great player like Yaya Toure, who I never feel is given the credit for his technical ability and footballing brain. You know, and you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know why that is the case. And so we need those players to emerge and become managers so they can change the narrative. But, you know, we also need more black executives, you know, presenters, reporters, produce the people putting on the show, commissioners, you know, to kind of change the narrative. But tonight, I've done. You know,
let me just quickly. We're coming to a close now, but just saying that. I mean, we are seeing. I mean, especially in the media, sports on Sky Sports, especially, we are seeing a lot of black presenters and pundits in there, and a lot of there are some people that have come out. There was one incident where a guy. It was the guy from United Stand. I can't remember his name now.
Rance, was it Rance?
No, not Rance. Leon, what's the guy from United Stand? I don't know if you watched the social media.
I know who you mean.
I can't remember his name, but he appeared on. He's a YouTuber and he works for United Stand. They got a massive following, 1 million plus YouTube followers, and he happened to be on Sky Sports, just giving his opinion about the game, and some guy from the Scottish Herald or whatever wrote a piece on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
You remember it, and he ended up confronting him.
Yeah.
I think what this Scottish guy was basically trying to say, and I think what people are saying now, and you see even like in the media where you've got people on daytime TV and you get the response, even like adverts and stuff like that, where that's not representing us. You know, you got white folks coming out saying that's not representing us. You know, black family coming on and, you know, advertising a particular product. You know, England lost their way and blah, blah, blah. Now, with Sky now, we notice that we're seeing a lot of now black presenters and pundits and stuff, like people that have gone and studied it, you know, got their media credentials and stuff like that. Do you think that's good that we're seeing that? Or do you think Sky just saying, you know what, we better just make sure we get our quota in and tick the box? It's a little. I just know what your thoughts on that. And we'll just move on.
Go on.
Sky are trying to tick boxes, but I mean, there has to be more inclusion, definitely, of black people in the forefront, and we need to also have a union created as well that pushes and drives a lot more black people forward in those areas and positions that they can feel more comfortable and able to put themselves out there to be at the forefront of the media. in those areas.
Norms, can I respond to
Yeah, go on, yeah, go on, yeah.
my response to your question is that we can't have it both ways. All right. I don't think we as black people can say we want to see more representation. And then when we see more representation, we're asking, is this box ticking? It's like, what do you want? what do you want?
I'll just throw it out there. Listen,
Yeah, it's like I understand why you say it, but I'm pleasantly surprised to see Micah Richards on Sky Sport, and I think he's doing a fantastic job as a pundit. You know, Ian Wright, we know, has always been there. We've seen who were some of the others? The female, two female footballers.
You've got
two female footballers have been brilliant, and they're equally as good as anybody else. That's the point. As long as it's done on merit, that's it. I don't mind. You know, it doesn't race, color, doesn't matter, animal, dog, whatever it might be. As long as you are at the right standard, then I'm cool with it. And I think, you know, you're being a little bit provocative there, Norman, with your are they box ticking? I don't know. I think
listen. I'm actually in total agreement with you, Lee. I just thought I'd just throw it out there.
The thing is, I'm very interesting. There's a guy who's now got a job at Talk Sport called Adi Adedipo, right? Yeah. Now, I remember watching his YouTube channel when he would have had fewer than 100 subscribers, and he started very small. I recently sent him a message and said, look, you know, I don't expect you to respond to this, but it's incredibly inspiring to see your story from being absolutely kind of minus 100 subscribers to then seeing you get bigger, to then seeing you on Sky, now seeing you with a show in Talk Sport, right? And I heard him he got back, but I heard him being interviewed and he said, look, you know, to be honest, I think I did initially get invited onto Sky, you know, because it was during the Black Lives Matter, and you know, there was a conscious effort to get more diverse faces on the screen. But since I've been on there, I've proven myself. It's a brilliant. I'm now established, and I've got bigger because I've shown that I can do the job. And okay, there might be an element of people saying, "Look, we know that there's a diversity agenda," but these individuals won't last if they can't cut it.
Yeah.
And the reason why Micah is on BBC, BT, Sky Sports,
he's on everything.
He's really good.
Yeah.
And if it means to a producer, if the producer can go away and sort of say, we can get viewers with women, with people of color, then I'm all for it.
Yo, Manny, what does viewers make?
Money.
All it is, bro.
Yeah. So Kroenke and the Glazers are happy with that. That's something that they could agree on. They're probably saying, get Micah on TV.
Yep.
Get him to front the European Super League launch.
Yep. I mean, Cove has got a good friend who in the Paralympics, your friend in the wheel, what's his name?
Adi.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right. And he's, you know, when the
amazing presenter.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
I love the work he's doing in the his travel program, and you know,
that's where you're getting it from.
No, I mean he's actually, I mean, he's been the forefront of media for a while now, and you know, he's earned the right to actually do what he does, and you know, he's a real professional in doing things the right way.
Yeah,
you know, I've played against him, and you know, he really is a real professional in whatever he does.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's great. It's great. It's for me. It's great to see these pundits and presenters on TV and doing a very good job, a good performance.
Multiple lanes. That's what I respect about Adi. He's in multiple lanes. You know, he could do sport. He can do Paralympic sport. He can do travel shows.
Yep.
I see him do something on global warming.
Yeah.
So he's expanding
Yeah.
all the different areas where the viewer
Yeah.
will feel
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just
He's not sort of pigeonholed into one area.
I'm the hype man. I'm the comedian. I'm the person who kind of has a loud laugh. It's kind of I can do the intellectual stuff. I can do
but
the
at the same time.
stuff.
And
Do you know
that's,
what I mean?
that's a little bit like Michael Richards as well, because he's kind of like, you know what I mean? But, you know, when he comes down, he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You can see he's passionate. You know, he's a Man City fan. And Leon probably won't like that. He's a Man City fan. Do you know what I mean? But listen, guys, I really to bring this to a close. And my last question, barring country, because Liverpool are not in Europe, so go right. So I just want to get your thoughts quickly. How you think we're going to do this coming week? It's a massive week for all English clubs. Obviously, David has given his viewpoint. He feels that he's going to win the semi-finals and make it into the final and possibly meet Man City. So let me hear from Leon. Massive lead, 6-2. You know, you go to Roma. I mean, listen, the guy's got a smug smile in his face, mate. He's having life.
All right. So that game is clearly done. No one cares about the Europa League, right? So that's all I want to say is I think Chelsea are going to beat Real Madrid, and I think Man City will beat PSG. So you know, I've got a feeling, and I said it from a couple of weeks ago, that we will have an all English European Champions League final again, right? Proving that the Premier League is the best league in Europe. We had 3 teams in the in the quarterfinals, I think it was.
Yeah.
Liverpool were in the quarters, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Liverpool, right. So I think we've done fantastically well as a league to go this far. And I think we'll have 2 teams. I think we'll have 2 English teams in the final. I think if we do see 2 English teams in the final, just because of home, I know David's gone now, so I can say this, but just because of home form, I think we'll see City edge it. But I don't care. You know, like I said before, I'm a fan of English clubs in the European competition. So I hope one of us takes it.
So just quickly before Manny asks, gives his point. So obviously we're talking Man U and Arsenal in the finals. So
of the Europa.
Yeah, of the Europa. Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
I'm gonna ask Manny.
Pain and disappointment. I think we will get past Villarreal. I think Ceballos being red carded has probably done him a favour.
Thank God.
But I look at the Villarreal team and I think they're not strong, and I am amazed that we're still in the tie, given where we were, you know, into the game. And so it'll be ourselves versus Man United. And you know what? In a one-off game, it's anyone's game. You know, we don't know what's going to happen with a rearranged Liverpool game, injuries. But it's anyone's game. You'd have to back United as being the favourites to win that. But
one thing I would say is that Ollie's never beaten Arteta.
Arteta's only been at the club for about 3 weeks, mate.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, right. But the other thing is, how good would it be to have the 2 finals of the 2 biggest leagues or cup competitions in Europe, both with 2 English teams in each final? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And this is when I say that I'm a football fan.
Yeah, I know. I can hear that.
Right, that for me as an English football fan is absolutely brilliant. You know, 2 European cup competitions, 4 English teams playing out for the winners. You can't get better than that.
I mean, Leon, I absolutely love your sentiments there, and I still want to beat you though.
I've had a feeling about Chelsea for a few weeks now. I've just got a funny feeling.
I know. I understand. And I mean, I know we're closing it up, but I wouldn't bet on that game, right? Because Chelsea, the way they played Real Madrid the other day, away from home, they were absolutely brilliant. They were fast. The pace of the game was it was beautiful to watch. And it was beautiful to watch us be able to play European style football in Europe against the best to do it and hold them to a 1-1 draw in their own ground. So I wouldn't disagree with you, Manny. It's only because of European of home domestic form why I would, if someone forced me to make a bet, that's the only reason why I would bet on on Man City. But I think you're right. There's something about Chelsea right now.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to.
It's a man called Tuchel or Thomas Tuchel.
Tommy Tuchel.
I think he's got a lot to do with the way Chelsea are playing right now, and I'll just pray God.
He's still not the best German manager.
Kofi's feeling a bit left out.
You sound like a Spurs fan, bro.
Yeah, you're beginning to sound like a Spurs guy. You know what I mean? Just feel like But what I would just say in closing for Arsenal is that I just pray God that Arteta picks the right team. He picks a centre forward that doesn't go with a false number 9. Because I don't know what he was doing in that Villarreal game. You know, you speak semi-finals and you decide that you're going to change the system and go with a false 9. Please, yeah. You know, Aubameyang scored in the last game. Hopefully, he will start the game. And Lacazette, not too sure whether he's going to be fit. I'm hoping that Tierney will be fit because if not, he may well play Xhaka at left back. Ideally, I would like to see Saka play at left back, probably with Martinelli playing on that side, so you've got that sort of like crossover there. But if he plays Granit Xhaka at left back, then you've got nobody overlapping at all. So we haven't got nothing going forward apart from Martinelli. So I'm hoping that he'll pick Aubameyang and he will be fit. I know this malaria thing has had a bit of a issue with his body and stuff like that. So he's trying to get back to fully fit. And I think he was saying after the game on Sunday that after about 80 minutes, he was absolutely feeling it. So he's got 80 minutes or plus under his belt. So hopefully he's going to be rested. And we go into this game on Thursday. And I do think we will win the game. And I think we will win it. I'm going to give my predicted score 2-0. I am going to do a preview on it, but I'm going to be as bold to say 2-0 to the Arsenal.
I hope you win it.
I hope so, because we definitely want to meet you, because 6-2, you guys already got your foot in there, and we'll see what happens. But guys, again, let me say thank you for taking your time out of your bank holiday to join me on my show and to talk things all football. I hope that the whole thing of social media, that they will put their foot down when it comes to the social media abuse. I'm wishing Kofi the best when it comes to their quest for top 4. Arsenal beating Villarreal, and we know already Man U already in there. And we'll see an all-English final.
Brilliant.
I'm out. Guys, please like, subscribe and share. And I'll see you on the next show. Take care.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Guys, stay in the room for a little while. Just stay there.
All right then. Yeah. Oh, he's gone.